There are probably hundreds of different ways to script hotkeys within the Dash Trader Pro platform. Over the last 2 years, I built the best hotkeys for myself to be able to better scale in and out of positions, be able to take profit, and especially use a hotkey that I don't think that many people know of, is the pre-market stop limit orders. Before my trade even goes through, it defines risk before I get in, setting an automatic stop during the pre-market trading session. So in this video, I walk you through my entire hotkey setup as scripting for Dash Trader Pro. And at the end, I walk you through exactly how I'm able to get in and out of positions with a predetermined stop loss for me to not take bigger losses in the market. Because we all know a 1 second difference in the small cap world can be a difference between being green on the trade or being red on it. And so the first thing we want to look at is speed is only half of the advantage. We're looking at consistency, risk, control, and focus. I think all four of these are super important when using your hotkeys and hot buttons to get in and out. But primarily the biggest thing is that you're managing your risk. And I think as traders, that's the first thing we need to think of before we even get into a trade is how much are we risking before we end up closing out the position and not thinking in terms of profit. It's execution all day over profits. And so that might help you with consistency over a long run. And so let's identify the difference between hotkeys versus hot buttons, because these are very two different things. And I think this might help a lot of people understand the difference between speed and execution, because for me, the way I look at the market is through a couple of different lenses. The first thing I symbolize trading is it's very similar to driving a car. You have, I would say, three main functions of the car. Obviously, you have the gas and you have the brake. You could see that as buying or selling in the market. But there's three main technical factors that we can look at. The first one is looking through the windshield. What are the cars in front of us? And what are the cars to the left of us coming in the opposite direction? And so you can look at that as traffic. And I associate that with the level 2. And so we're looking through the windshield. You can see the cars ahead of us on the ass being traffic, and the cars behind us being, momentum and people, creating that speed or that flow of the motion during traffic hours. And then the second thing that I'm looking at as well is the rear view mirror. You're constantly checking what's behind you. And so maybe you have to check the side mirrors in order to get and change lanes. And so how are we looking at the side mirrors in the market? And I would say that's the chart. We're always looking behind as what has already happened. And then the third and the most mechanical process of driving is obviously the steering wheel. What are you in drive? Are you in reverse? Are you pressing the gas? Or are you pressing the brake? I use the same concept when I'm trading the market. And so I put both hands on my keyboard and I rest them where I place the type through ASDF, JKL, and the semicolon. And to get in and out of the market, my right hand, just like where gas is on the right side, that's to buy, and to the left's hand, that would be to sell, just like the brake. So I have the very similar entries and exits while also maintaining the mechanics of what we're already used to. And I find that super simple, super easy. And so let's identify the difference between hotkeys versus hot buttons, because these are very two different things. And so specifically, hotkeys are buttons that I have associated with scripts in order to get in and out of the market really quickly. And so I can buy, sell, I can sell partially, I can create a stop order, I can cancel the order, I can route new orders, trigger advanced hotkey orders where if this happens, then this. If this isn't the case, then it won't do that. And so we can get very creative getting in and out of the market. And then on the flip side of that, we also have hot buttons. And hot buttons, we can add this here very quickly. So the way to add hot buttons is very simple. You right click on the montage window, you go down to montage window configuration, the window style, and then you click on this hot buttons row. For you, it might not be clicked on. All you have to do is right click or left click on it and then send it over. And that will create a window underneath your buy button for you to add a row. You can add 1, 2, 3, 4 buttons, however many you would like. Let's just add 2, one for buy and one for sell. And so this one to the left here, let's say it's buy, and this one to the right here is to sell. I can very easily click this button after we edit it and create a script, which we will go over later, and the scripts that I use for each one of my hotkeys. So how does Dash hotkeys actually work? And there's a couple of main parts that we're going to go over here today on how to order scripts. And I'm going to try to break it down as easy as possible for you to understand, because these can get very confusing. But I think if we set a good foundation of what is what, then we can continue building this, over time, and it'll be a lot easier to understand. So there's 5 main principles that we're really looking at. The first one is the route that you're taking to the market, how quickly your executions are going to take. Is it direct access, or are we using a free commission brokerage? Are we using a route that doesn't have as much liquidity, or maybe it has bigger rebates? And so the route that I typically use is Arca L. Arca is one of the main exchanges on for small caps that we typically trade. That in NASDAQ as well. We see a lot of volatility within those trades. The second thing is price. When do we want to get in at, and how much slippage, or how much are we willing to pay for the stock? And we can set a hard cap on that. For example, if we have price is ask plus 0.1, that means that we can get filled, let's say at $5 up to $5.10, and nothing more, nothing higher than that. The second thing is how many shares we want to get filled. So shares, you can set that quantity to whatever risk you want to associate. For right now, I just set it for 100, because 100 is, let's say on a $5 stock, that's about $500 getting in and out very quickly. The TIF, time in force, what does this mean? So there's a couple different options, but it's just an active session in time. So let's say if I only wanted to trade during regular market hours, that would be a day order. But if I wanted to trade during extended hours, I wanted to use a day plus order. Those are super important. And then how do I want to do this? Do I want to buy? Do I want to send? Do I just want to load these shares into the window? Do I not want to actually execute them off the bat? So that's how you'd be able to associate if I want to buy, sell, and do I want to send this order or not. And so those are the very simple hotkeys and scripting that we can use to associate. So let's go over my entry hotkeys. So for me, I shift J, I'll hold shift down, I'll press J, and that will be to buy an order. And then that will send the order through Arca, ask plus 10 with 50 shares, and time in force I can trade during the pre-market trading session. And the hand in inst, it would be it allows the broker execution to handle depending on the brokers in the confirmation. And so the brokerage will take care of that for you. And or we can do all or nothing. There's a couple of different options to go for, and that would be all of the shares. And then also I would like to buy. This is the buy. And then K would be to, let's say, cover. I want to buy 500 shares. Same thing here. I want to entry, and I'll go down the row depending on, and typically the way I associate my key is J is the cheapest amount of shares that I would buy, and then K is slightly larger, L is bigger, and then sometimes I even shift my hand down to M, which has helped me a lot as well. And so those are the orders that I would use for getting in and out of the market very efficiently to buy these orders. So what are limit orders? I think this is a good example to go over what a limit order is compared to a market order or even a stop order. And so when you're buying on a limit order, especially during pre-market, because we can't use market orders to be able to trade during pre-market trading session, and we can't use stop orders. But here's what we can do. If I wanted to get into a position inside the market, I'm going to use a limit order to buy. And so I'll send my order. I want to buy at $5, and my buy limit is 10 cents above that order. And so my max allowed price, if the stock is squeezing up and I get in at 5 and it immediately shoots to 520, none of my shares will get filled. So I won't have to chase the order, and it won't fill automatically without me. This is all depending on your risk and what's associated with that. If I want to get in, I want to get in immediately. So I think 10 cents of slippage is pretty reasonable, unless we have really, really high volatility where you may need to increase that slippage a little bit more. And so what is routing? Routing is a part of your execution. It's really important to know what routing you're using specifically when you're trading the market. And so the main order routing that I use is Arca L, but there's also a limit order. You have free limit orders. You also have RSSRM and RSSRL. This is Ocean One specific. You have CUTDL, Edge X limit orders, INET limit orders. These are all just different order routings that you can use just like Arca, and one of them as well as NSDQL, which is another route that you can take. And so the secret sauce to this entire PowerPoint is the stop type limit order. I think this is super beneficial for people looking to get out very quickly and manage their risk. It feels it almost feels like when you're using this order, you can manage your risk better, and it gives you more confidence to take more trades. And so you can see here, the stop type is limit P. That allows me to create a stop order. Now, the only problem with using these stop orders, and I'm going to preface this and disclaim it for everyone that will be using this hotkey in the future, is this is not a regular stop order. It is a limit order on the ask that uses, I think the route type is as a flash order. And so if the stock drops below very, very quickly, and there's no, let's say you get in at $5 a share and it drops to 450, you had a position ready to close out 10 cents below 5 at 490s. Let's say it drops very suddenly. There's a lot of shares dropping down. You may not get filled unless there's orders going through on the ask to fill your order. So it can jump over your order, and it has happened to me in the past, but it has saved me from a lot of losses as well. Stock drops down, it pops right back up, fills my shares, and it's back down again. It happens very quickly, but this is a way to mitigate a lot of risk. And some traders as well have, in my community, has made double stop loss orders. In case of a stock is dropping really, really fast, they're able to place 2 orders simultaneously using a trigger feature that we'll talk about soon. And so it's able to stop if it jumps over one order, the second order there is ready to catch it. And so that's a little bit of advanced order sequence, but it's really beneficial on stocks that end up popping and dropping very quickly. It creates a trigger price and then also a limit price. And so let's say the trigger price falls below 512, your sell limit order goes down to 510, and that's where you're going to get filled. You can widen this as much as you want, or you can shorten it. And a better example of what this looks like is potentially your average cost is at $5. Your trigger cost is at 482, and below that is 480, and so that's your limit. And if it drops way below this, you might not get filled within this range here. You can only get filled between your trigger and your limit order. You can widen the limit as much as you want. You can shorten the limit as much as you want. Okay, so we kind of went over this as well earlier, the stop versus stop limit and limit P. What is the difference between them? A stop order is triggered and sends the market immediately, while a stop limit order, limit P, it sends a limit order. And so you do need strength to get out. You need buy orders to fill your order, especially if you're long on these trades, and that will better benefit those traders to be able to get out immediately. And so what is the biggest stop limit danger? What happens? Your stop can trigger, or you can still own the stock. It might not result into you selling those shares, and it might continue going lower, so you still have to be ready to sell the shares immediately. And so limit P makes more sense. I guess the biggest thing that we're looking at here is when it's useful versus when it's dangerous. And you want to be able to protect from extreme slippage. And that's when it's super useful. But sometimes it has hindered me as well. I might take a position, my stop is too tight, it might be at 10 cents and it really should be at 20 cents. And those are some of the factors that we need to look at when we're trading. Am I risking 10 cents, and how much am I making on top of that? We've had some pretty insane volatility stocks, and I get in really quickly looking for expansion. It's not ready yet. It's the right idea, just the wrong time. It stops me out and then it triggers without me. It flies. And so that has happened before. So you have to be constantly monitoring these stocks and understanding the spread and the liquidity that's going through. Because if we have a very thinly traded stock with a very wide spread and a violent flushes, you might not get filled, and you need to be ready to sell on the bid or remove them completely before it stops you out and runs out without you. And so the biggest thing here is letting the DAS calculate the stop for you. You don't necessarily need to create this in your head before you get into a trade now. You can entry at 350. Stop is automatically set using these trigger orders that we're going to get into in a little bit from now. And so to automatically set a stop about 20 cents below your entry, if you get in at 720s, you're out at 701. Very simple, very easy. If you're in at 12, you're out at 1181 if you get filled. Super simple, super easy. Our next slide here is, what is round? Why is round important? And so round, sometimes in DAS, what ends up happening is you may get filled orders. Let's say you get 25 shares filled at $7, and then you get 100 shares filled at $7.05. And so there might be a position where the average cost between your first position got filled and your last position got filled average in, and they create decimal points. And so if you have a round order, what that does is it makes those average costs round to the nearest cent, so you can get out more efficiently and not have those weird 4.9995 or something like that. And so what is your share? Your share equals your position. And this typically means if I'm setting out my entire order in my hotkeys, I can do position times 0.5, or I can do position times 0.25. It just depends on your order routing specifically. And so if I want to get out of full position on the ask, what I'll do is I'll click Shift F, and that will get me out of my entire position. And let's say if I want to get out quarter, I'll press Shift S, and half would be Shift D. And this position window here is just your full position. And so once you script that in there, it'll be super, super easy. All right, so this is the trigger order that we were talking about. So before this, what you could set is a routing order specifically to buy shares. And then that will then trigger, once the order gets filled, it'll trigger this order, meaning that it'll send a stop limit order, and it'll sell your position 20 cents below. Stop price is 18 with a limit order of 20. And so what ends up happening is I get into the position, it fills, and then it automatically creates a stop limit order during pre-market trading session. And that goes 18 cents below your entry. And so it fills without you having to click a button at all. And we've been using this a lot recently in the market, especially with the way that the market's been trading recently. So it's a really good habit to get into. You can set certain hotkeys to have these. You can set certain hotkeys to not have these. And you can stack these trigger orders. If this trigger order gets blown by and another trigger order goes, it'll cancel any open orders and then fill that open order. And that's where you can kind of get creative on, exactly how you want your order types to be associated, especially during a pre-market trading session where you don't have as much leeway with market orders or stop orders. And so what the entry protection workflow that we're looking at, your hotkey is pressed, the buy limit order gets sent, the order fills, and then you have an average cost. The stop is automatically calculated, and then the protection is activated through once your order is connected to the market, it creates that trigger order and gets placed to the market. So very simple, very easy, and it's very fast. Sometimes the most important hotkey, and I cannot stress this enough, having this hotkey associated on your keyboard would be Shift W. That's my hotkey, but it's to cancel any symbols opened order. There's been times when I was first trading the market 2 years ago where I got into a position and I sold and I sold and I sold and I rapidly clicked. And this isn't the first time I've heard this. I've also heard other traders do the same thing where they click the sell button one too many times. And so if your brokerage sees that you have too many open orders, they might not let you sell the remaining position if that order didn't get filled. If you have an open order already listed for your full share size and you're not allowed to go short on your brokerage, they will not let you sell another order as it's dropping. And so what you can do is you can make this script before your sell orders. So if there's any other open orders, it'll automatically cancel those and then send your order. Or you can create this hotkey yourself so it's separate. You can cancel the order and then place another on top of that. And so that would cancel any open orders. And so you don't have an opportunity where what's happened to me in the past is I get in, I have one too many sell orders, one of them doesn't get filled, and I'm trying to get out. It's rejecting the order. It's rejecting the order. I'm trying to figure out why. And I was like, oh, there's an open order. And so if you struggle with a couple of different problems in the market, one of the biggest that I see is that you can't accept losses and you average down. And so what ends up happening here is if the ask currently, the price of the ask is greater than the average cost that you already have owned of shares, it'll submit the order to continue to buy shares. But if it's below, else, given this function, it'll say patience is strength, meaning that it won't let your order submit through, and it'll say, hey, don't average down to the position. You can change this message to however you would like, but don't average down to this position. Be patient. Let the market come to you. There's no need to, average down to this position. If it's the right entry, you can either hold or sell and get right back in. So that's a really cool advanced script logic that you could use on DAS to be able to better manage your risk and not average down continuously and take bigger losses that you need to. And so my hotkey system here is, I have a bunch of different hotkeys. This is the best thing that I have on my keyboard. I have a buying power buy as well, maybe 20% of my account, 50% of my account. It just depends. I can add re-entry, breakout, a trade, or I can sell my hotkeys, sell half. I add a profit target, my stop below 10 cents. I have a flattened position, stop below 18. But then I also have a break-even hotkey as well. I don't know if I added it in here, but I do have a break-even hotkey in case I just want to place it and the stock comes right back up. I can get out on that range. And so what is my hotkey layout? On my right side of the keyboard, I have buy. On my left side of the keyboard, I have sell. My stop, flatten, and cancel. Cancel would be Shift W. So my stop order is going to be C, V, and B. And then my flatten hotkey is spacebar. The biggest button, if I need to get out immediately, I just spam spacebar and I'll be able to get myself out of that position very quickly. And so I think there's different levels that you can get. You can go very basic with these, or you continue to grow as time goes on. And I think that's the best way to do. Start with very simple, basic hotkeys, then go up to dynamic position sizes and average cost, and times 0.5. And then after that, you can do trigger orders, conditional logics, and advanced order routing. But I think it's important to learn the scripting before you just jump in and do it really quickly. Your checklist here, this is important as well. You want to make sure that your order routing is correct, and you want to practice in the simulator with them first before you use real money, because it's happened to me. Sometimes hotkeys are just wrong, or they don't work, or you forget a certain script on it. It just happens. Mistakes happen all the time. So I would say use the simulator first if your broker allows for it. Ocean One does. You can do one share if you're testing with real market orders, potentially. You want to make sure it's the correct route, the correct side. You want to make sure that there's the correct size, trigger price, the limit price, partial fills, the cancel behavior. Make sure everything works perfectly before you start putting real money on the line. If we look at some common hotkey failures, it could be you're either on the wrong side, you're on the wrong share size, the wrong routing. That's happened to me a couple of times. I'm not on ARCA. Why is it not getting filled on ARCA? Why am I not getting filled at all? Why is it taking so long? Just simple things like that can happen over time as well. Sometimes your stop doesn't get filled. Why is that the case? Was it the limit pass? Was it too close? Was there not enough slippage? Or there's old orders like we talked about earlier where it's not letting you sell, it's rejecting because you already have an open order on the list. So it's very easily to make a mistake. But let's create a hotkey using the hot buttons, because I think it would be the most beneficial for us. We'll go through order scripting on DAS, and then right after that, we'll test them in the simulated account so I can better get in and out of the market pretty quickly. All right, so let's go here to my hotkeys configuration tab. And then let's scroll down to the bottom and let's add a hotkey. DAS does this really nice. It looks very confusing at first, but once you get used to it, it becomes very simple, very easy. So let's make a hotkey here. So we're going to add a new item on the bottom here. It's going to create this hotkey script builder. We're going to set this hotkey to buy 100 shares. And the hotkey that I want to associate with this is Shift 6. And so that will get me in with, actually, I'm going to do Control J for now because I'm going to keep it, actually Control J is already using, whatever, we'll just use Shift 6. It is what it is. So if you go down here, you can see pre-built scripts that are already accessible for you to use. The order script wizard or the trigger order. I would recommend using the order script wizard at first. This makes it very simple. The first thing that you have here is what side you're going to be able to trade on. We want to buy, how many shares you want to buy? Let's say I want to buy 100 shares. The symbol for me, you can either do a specific symbol that you want to use, but I leave it blank specifically because when I highlight my window right here on the level 2, it'll automatically place the order on that specific window. For that stock. The price here, let's do ask plus 0.10, kind of like what we were talking about earlier. We also want to do my account here, but we can also leave that blank if we want. What route do we want to use? For regular market hours, maybe market orders go and work well. If not, I would recommend using NASDAQ, EDGX, ARCA. Those are some of the big three that get used often. Time and force, it's coming into after hours right now. Let's use an after hours time and force. Show quantity, we can leave this blank if we would like. You can show your orders, or you can hide them. What type are we using? This is going to be a limit order, but it gets a little bit more complicated because this could be a trigger order as well, where we can do a trigger price or a trailing price or a stop type, and this could be that limit P or the range market orders. There's a bunch of different ways that you can do this. The mode, we want to do load and send. As soon as we send the hotkey, it'll automatically, or as soon as we press the hotkey, it'll automatically send to the market, fill, and then go from there. And then the minimum, we want to do any, all or nothing, or end and hold. Let's just choose any. I typically only use that. And once you click this build script, it'll automatically click here. And all you got to do is copy and paste it into the, let's go to this hot button location here to the right. We'll go to edit. We'll paste that script. We'll do buy 100 shares, and that'll be ready to go. And so if I connect this to the simulator and I press buy on this shares, it'll automatically send my order using the simulator account underneath here. You can see for 100 shares is bought at 403. Very simple, very easy. If I wanted to sell, I'll use my hotkey to sell full position on the ask where it is now. It'll place the order and it'll immediately sell that position. So super easy, super simple. It doesn't get more complicated than that. And so that's everything to do with hotkeys from start to finish. This was a little bit of a longer video, but I think it's a super good video to go over, I guess even a stream to go over, so we can better protect our risk. You want to be able to use the simulator before you're testing out those hotkeys. Use one share if you need to on certain orders in case the simulator doesn't allow you to. And you make sure and understand that everything is perfectly in line on your scripts, and then scale once you test and start building off those great habits that you're building for yourself.